Angle grinder stand. Yeah, and this one kind of intrigued me when I saw it on Amazon, so I had to get this to kind of check it out, and it's got a little feature on it that I'm going to like. A lot of the ones you see, you put your angle grinder in, you clamp it in, and it's just basically a chop saw. This here has two different functions. It can either chop or it can slice. So it slices, it dices, it makes julienne fries. Well, maybe not the fries. Maybe it won't dice, but it will slice this way, and it also has a linear motion. So we're going to take it out of the box here, coming up. I'm Roger, welcome to the shop, and yeah, this here's something a little bit different, but it's something that I can use here. I have a few different angle grinders. I'm going to put a corded one on this. It's a case right here. It's an old Craftsman, and I do mean old, but it works good. At least I hope it'll fit. We're going to find out when I put this thing together. What I liked about this was, and intrigued me, was it has this linear action right here for a slide, so that you could, as you're cutting, you can slide, don't have to just chop. Gives you a little bit more versatility to it, so I thought I'd check it out. Wasn't that expensive. I can always use something like this, so I would imagine some assembly is going to be required. We'll get this out of the box and see what it takes. I have not opened this up yet because it just came. In fact, it's still cold from being outside. Oh yeah, there's some parts and pieces here. Instructions. Handling instructions. Be careful how you handle this, I guess. Styrofoam block, don't need that. Things unwrapped here. Doesn't look like there's going to be a whole lot of assembly to it. Guard, got some nuts and bolts, a couple of alien wrenches, got a handle. And we got the pedestal base. So I'll get some trash cleaned up, put this thing together. Okay, if you're wondering if this is a cast base, no it's not. It's a piece of fairly stout steel. And the first thing I'll need to do here is take these little nuts and bolts apart here, because I got to mount my base to this. Looks like we got a selection of holes here. So I got a couple different sets of holes I can use. Oh, somebody was playing gorilla with that one. The first step will be to getting this mounted on the base. And I'll just pick a set of holes here. I'm not sure which. I may end up having to move this. So I'm using the set of holes that the factory bolts were in. These nuts are serrated, so they should grab, and I shouldn't have to get a wrench. We'll find out here real quick. And I need to get this straight, I suppose. And I'm also going to have to figure out my dimensions this way at some point. So for right now, I think I'm just going to snug it up a little bit where it is. Fine tuning here a little bit later. Say I may end up having to move that over to the other set of holes. Don't know yet. It does have a nice smooth motion. And there's no wobble up in here at all. Up and down or side to side. There's a nice linear motion there. Yeah, the guard will pass through this little hole right here. I'll need to back that screw out, and then this goes on here like so. It's got a locking nut here. I'll have to do some adjustments on this, I'm sure. This goes through there like so. Like I said, I'll have to make some adjustments here once I get the grinder on it. That gives you an idea how that works right there. I'll just snug this up a little for right now. Here's the angle grinder I'm going to be using in it, and obviously I need to move this shield and turn it up, or take it off actually, because I'm going to be using this shield instead. So I can't have this on there. So I've got to do a little disassembly here. Everything figured out here according to what size goes where is becoming a little bit of a challenge. So we know that we got to put one of these here in the bottom. I'll try to get these holders mounted here and kind of get an idea where I need to be. It's these guys right here, and it has a bolt in the end you take out. So we'll get one of those started down here. This is made to fit a lot of different models and sizes, it appears. The illustration is a little cryptic on what to do here, so I'm kind of fumbling through this. So this goes here, there's a bolt here, it came out of the back of it. So that'll need a thread in there. I would imagine with the flat side facing towards where the grinder's going to be. I'm not tightening these up real tight yet. I'm just kind of making them there till I figure out how this mounts. So this is going to have to go, get that out of the way. This is going to have to go in here, like so. So when it comes down, actually the guard is okay where it is. Well, it does look like I'm going to have to be in another set of holes to have the cut slot over here. It's a little trial and error here, but we'll get this figured out. Got that moved over, so we'll go with trial number 2 and look to see where this ends up. That looks pretty good there. Now I need to get the right size bolts to mount this to this. And these are metric, and this is from the 90s, so we're going to wait and see if they screw in. Oh, by golly, they do. Okay, so there's a jam nut there. You have to back up because that isn't going to go all the way in. There are several different sizes of bolts here for different size grinders, and little bushings and adapters and all kinds of little goodies there. I think you'll need the bushing on the bolt for these, for what I'm doing here. It just depends on what size your bolts are, what size bolts you're going to be using. Okay, I've got my grinder where I want it, and I need to get it kind of squared up there and tighten down these bolts on both sides. And then I need to look and see where that's going to fall in here. So I don't want it back too far in this other slot before I tighten those down. So set that about there. There's bolts on the back side of this bracket right here to pass through. Tighten those down. And I adjusted this so that it will guard the cutting wheel as it's down like this. So it'll guard the cutting wheel. So I need to get a cutting wheel put on there. And lastly, we have a handle, and you have your choice of either putting it down here or you can put it up there. I think I'm going to put it down here. And this here you can adjust. You push that down, you can pull that back quite a ways if you want to. This angles, you decide to do so. And there is a protractor on the back of this back here if you wanted to cut an angle. Well, let me find a piece of metal here. And of course, don't forget eye protection when you're messing with stuff like this. Even if you wear glasses, if a piece of that flies up, it'll ruin your lens. Nice square cut, works like it's supposed to. To reiterate again, when you're using something like this, a face shield is the best thing. Next thing down would be some goggles. Next thing down would be safety glasses. But even though I wear glasses, I know from past experience over the years, if you're grinding or cutting or something, and some of that flies up and hits that lens, even though I have safety lenses in here, leaves a permanent mark on it. And these are really expensive. These are not that much. And this is a little dirty, and it's tinted because I use it, my plasma cutter all the time. But it, dark carbonate, 787, OSHA, made by 3M. I get these at Quad City Safety. It's a store we have here, called Safety Store. And of course you want ear protection because these make, as you heard, a lot of racket. And in this portion of the video where I'm actually doing the cutting, I'm cranking the volume down in post, so you won't hear it at full volume. So, little safety things there, of course. And obviously, don't get your paw down underneath there, you know, when you're running it. And it does make hot sparks. Pay attention to where they're going. It's always good to have fire extinguisher near. I got one behind the camera. Got another one right back here. So, it's a just in case. Or do it outdoors with a fire blanket or however you need to do it. Just, you know, don't be running this and having all the sparks blowing against your lawnmower gas can. That'd be a bad thing. So what do I think of this? Well, it was a little fiddly to put together because you've got to mate it up to whatever type of grinder you have. And the instruction book here is a little bit lacking. So I hope you got something out of how I finally put all this together because I did it wrong. A couple times I had this in the wrong set of holes for my grinder. Of course, yours could be different. And I was really wondering if this grinder was even going to fit in here. because I know I got this grinder in 1996. That was before a lot of things were all metric. So I didn't know if these bolts were going to fit in there, if I was going to have to come up with something else, but fortunately they did. So the action of it I like. It's nice and smooth. I'm just going to take a little getting used to here on the cut and slide, because when I saw in that first one, it jumped a little bit because I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. Close enough, but on the second one I started up here and did the slide back, and it worked just fine. And it does make a good square cut. So of course that is going to be dependent on, you're going to have this in there square, you're going to have material in there square if you want square to be, or the cut to be square. But it does make a good cut. It's a little quicker for small things like this and me getting out a portaband, which is something I need to replace here soon. My other one crapped out on me finally. Or a hacksaw, or a plasma cutter. I mean, I usually do this stuff with a plasma cutter. Now, if you only had 1 or 2 little pieces to cut out, I have to drag all that stuff out and hook it all up, so this will be a lot quicker. So it's going to be a handy little thing. I'm going to leave this mounted on here. I'm not going to be taking it on and off. It'll just be a permanent shop fixture this way for them quick little cutoff jobs. And I'll put a link in the description on this. It says it's a Mini Q. The box doesn't even have a brand name on it, but as I say, I saw this on Amazon, was intrigued by it, so thought I'd give it a shot. So there's how to put it together, how to use it. I'll be a link in the description of where I got it. So if you got anything out of this, appreciate getting a thumbs up. Always helps the channel. Roger in the shop. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.